Hello, classmates of 804. I'm Lori Greason, and I teach 7th grade at Mission Trail Middle School. Welcome to my class. Today is Tie Day, Mission Trail for our Spirit Week. I just want to let you know some of the things that I've been working on the last few weeks. I did an action research plan, and it all started due to the fact that I couldn't figure out why my students weren't being successful in my classroom. And so I decided to look at where they were struggling. And that started on my path of my action research plan. The first thing I realized is that it wasn't that my students didn't know the content, it's just that they weren't doing all those other pieces, that big thing we like to call responsibility. They weren't really showing me that they knew how to hand in your work and what quality work looked like and those kind of things. So what I decided to do is I decided to give them a responsibility reflection sheet. Every day they filled this out, told me how they thought they were doing. There's lots of things in here. It's like a checklist. Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Then I took that and realized my students were having difficulties in two areas, and that would be quality work and late work. If they weren't passing my class, those were the reasons. So I thought, okay, now I have something to work with. So I came up with my essential question: does student achievement increase if I explicitly teach responsibility? With that, I then decided to give my students a survey. I gave them a pre-survey asking them what they thought responsibility looked like. Here's an example. Okay, asking them if I should teach, if teachers should teach responsibility, if students should get graded on responsibility, how well they thought they were doing in responsibility. We did that, and then for the next week, I talked about the idea of quality work and what that looked like. And we came up with different ways in which quality work could be assessed. We talked about what it looked like. It was legible handwriting. It had restating the sentences. It was on time. It was complete. Everything was finished. And we had that posted in the room, and I still have it behind me. You just can't see it. The idea of what quality work looks like. And then I went ahead, and every single day for 2.5 weeks, I went around and collected their work. And we talked about how if I didn't like it, if it didn't look like quality work, if it didn't have complete sentences, if it didn't have neat handwriting, I wasn't going to accept it. It was an all or nothing kind of thing. And I started handing papers back. And I started making a chart and tallying it up. And then this went on for almost 3 weeks. I stopped and I started collecting data then again. I asked them again on a post survey what they thought. I thought, I want to know what you think about responsibility. Should I grade it? Should I teach it? And if you think it made a difference. Well, after that, the first thing I realized was before I taught responsibility, students said, 70% of them said, don't teach responsibility. Waste of time, it's not in your curriculum, I heard, it's not in our content, we should already know. And then after I taught it, I had 77% of my students say, you know what? We should already know this. Our parents should have taught us this. We should have learned it in kindergarten. They did not think 7th graders needed to know what responsibility looked like, which I thought was shocking. I thought, oh, okay. Then I asked them, hey, after I taught this, how responsible do you feel now? Do you feel more responsible? Do you feel like you know what quality work looks like? Do you feel like that you are, better prepared in the idea of responsibility? And I had an overwhelming 77% of my students thought they were more responsible after I explicitly taught what it looked like. Bringing your materials, paying attention in class, and that whole idea of what quality work looks like. Okay. Then I thought, you know what? Do students actually think that they should get graded on responsibility? Or do they think that it should be, it's not important? And I thought, this is interesting. Before I taught the explicit ways in which we are responsible, okay, I had 55% of the students said yes. Almost over half said yes, we should get grades on it. And then after I taught it, I had 38% say, nah, we shouldn't get graded on that. Which I find very funny. Perhaps maybe they thought it was too hard being responsible and they shouldn't get graded on it. I went ahead and then looked further at my top 15 and my bottom 15% of my class, and I realized the students who do well in class, who are responsible, more of them wanted to get graded on it. The students who did worse, or the students who are my bottom performers, overwhelmingly they said, no, we shouldn't get graded on it. We would fail. And they would say that straight out in their survey. The good news, though, is even though they don't think they should learn it, they don't think I should teach it, they don't think they should get graded on it, I looked at their scores, their average quarter 1 and quarter 2 scores, and we had an average of 2% increase. 2% increase on their average percentage grades. So that to me was pretty astounding for the pure fact that number one, second quarter, because second quarter, if you're a teacher, you know they always go down the toilet, always get junky grades because students are no longer on that honeymoon. They're looking forward to Christmas. They don't give a hootie about their classwork. And so that to me was really, really astounding. So overall, I guess, some of the overall ideas I thought about were things that I realized was, first of all, students don't think you should teach it. They overall don't think you should give them grades for it. But, even those two things, but they feel like they're more responsible because I taught it. I don't know if that's just the whole idea of being a middle schooler and thinking that you should know it and I know it and don't help me with that. I think maybe that has something maybe to do with it. That would be interesting maybe to do some more research on that question. But even though they don't want you to teach it, they feel like they're better off, and obviously their grades show they're better off because of it. So, some follow-up things I'd think about besides that would be, if they don't think you should teach responsibility, well, what would make them more responsibility? And that brings me to the question of skills mastery. The idea of you have to master X, Y, and Z before moving to the next level. And that's something I think I might look into later on. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I did the last 4 or 5 weeks of my class. I'm just writing my paper up and looking at more data, and that's it. So it was a good time, and I think my students are better off of it. Thanks.